Hey, my sugar bears, welcome back to my channel, Bougie AF. It's your host, J. Nicole. It's where I say stay bougie on them. It's me feeding you feminism for the soul. It's my soul food offering. It's where I apply pressure to issues by being critical and logical. Now, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Now, let's get to the commentary, where I can guarantee you I will be doing too much, because that's just me. And like Sheree said, who's gonna check me, boo?
It's J. Nicole, and you are tuned in to the Bougie AF channel where I say stay bougie on them, and I'm serving you feminism for the soul. Don't forget to check me out on them people's Instagram at OG Bougie AF. I'm sorry, OG underscore Bougie AF. Also on them people's Twitter at I'm underscore Bougie underscore AF. You can also check me out on them people's TikTok at She Bougie AF. So listen, I did this video. There's a part one of this video. I have not posted it yet, and so this is actually me doing like a miniature part two to it because that video is like really long. I really appreciate if you listen to it. I think I dropped a lot of gems, but in that video there's a long intro where I talked about the black community. I showed the clip from Car Wash where it talked about Daddy Rich, his character, who was a pastor who was most definitely pimping the black community in terms of like hustling on them, right? And I'm pretty sure, like, I promise you watch the video. It's a long way till you get to even me talking about Jay Morrison. And the reason why I have not posted it yet, I still have to edit that video. But the reason why I was like so hesitant on that video, because I really was thinking about really trying to redo that video over, condense it. I had too much to say, and I thought maybe I was doing too much. I promise y'all, I thought I was doing too much in terms of like really trying to engage people, and people have such short attention spans that I was like, okay, maybe I need to do another video that's not as long and that I will be able to, attract more people to pay attention to. And baby, I gotta leave that video at its length, right? Because I was so on point in terms of like what I was able to observe. And I didn't need to read a book about it, right? Like, if you're a Black American and if you love history like I have, or even if you have the abilities to just kind of pay attention to like the social dynamics within our community, I didn't need anybody to tell me that these pastors and these activists and these gurus and the common denominator or the common factors, the common things that I see in all of them exist. So to know that these are hustlers, right? These are just plain and simple, just hustlers. And I don't care if they tell you they are men of God. It just is what it is, right? And so I woke up today. I get on Twitter, and one of the first things I see is a post. Now, I'm going to bring this post up so y'all can see what I'm talking about. And when I tell y'all, baby, it lit a fire underneath me to let me know that video needs to stay exactly the way it is, right? Because I know a lot of people will feel some sort of way because talking about the United House of Prayer and probably talking about somebody's pastor, somebody's family, or something like that, something that is supposed to be sacred and traditional within the Black community, which is the institution of church, right? And really dissecting it and really coming to a conclusion on like how has that served us and what has that looked like, right? And there is no way you can not say that Martin Luther King and other strong Black leaders in the churches back in the day really did serve the community. The church really did at one point serve the community. There's just no way to deny that, right? And it's just sad because it's just sad because of the state of the church that we have now. It's just more for profit than anything, right? If you know a little bit about, in terms of like what happened after Dr. Martin Luther King, in terms of churches being able to be tax exempt and, getting that 501(c) status, a lot of people will tell you that they really feel like that was really given by the government to kind of break the influence that the church was having in that radical type of leadership, politically type of way, right? Because if you decide to be a tax exempt type of church and get to keep all that money, essentially you're saying that you are not going to have a position or ideology or participate in the politics type of things, right? There's a separation of church and state, and if we decide, or if you decide that essentially you can't be politically inclined, because then you are a political activist group, right? And so when you talk about Farrakhan and being able to put that in perspective, I'm going to put that in perspective when it comes to the NOI. I'm going to put that in perspective when it comes into all of a sudden calling, Muslim people our brothers, in terms of like, that's why people are so confused on Clubhouse and wanting to get into the business of the Palestinian people and the Jewish people, which is not our fight. A lot of people don't even know the history about it, but what ends up happening is that you had Farrakhan, who needed to bring funds into the NOI, and so he most definitely appealed to, what's his name, Gaddafi, and was able to secure a lot of funds that way, right? Right? So that makes it more of a political organization. That fiery rhetoric, damn America, and for what it's done, it's very political, right? That's not the Bible. He's not preaching the Bible when he starts to talk like that, right? Or when he starts to speak and generalize and call out the Jewish community and say things towards those group of people. That's not spirituality. That's not in the Bible. Like, hate is not in the Bible, right? So pay attention to when things cross those lines. And try to figure out where does that come from and what's the intentions behind that, right? Because he can't qualify for a 501c and has to find another way to fund, the NOI in terms of the donations, of course, from the people. Of course, there's all types of ways that they have monetized, books and all types of things like that. And then plus there was that money that they are able to solicit from certain individuals overseas, right? So they are not our government does not look at them as a church because they're too politically and too active to be a church. And I totally agree with them. Let's be completely honest with you. I totally agree with them, because when you step out of the boundaries of just calling out the United States government and you start to get with people who mean my government or mean the people of the United States no good, I have to look at you the same type of way, right? Gaddafi was not a friend of the United States. Whatever the reason, he was not a friend of the United States. And you can't align with an op, right? You can't align with an op. That's just if I have to put it that way, you can't align with an op, all right? So let's get back into today. So I get up this morning and I get on the Twitter and I see there's a post about Jay Morrison, right? And in my lengthy introduction in that first video, like I said, I showed y'all daddy riches. I showed y'all sweet daddies and all that, the United House of Prayer. Because for me, when it comes to a Jay Morrison and the way how he was putting himself out here, put his wedding picture on this flyer for a reason, right? That's very much, sending that smoke signal of the nuclear family. He chose a black woman. He married her. He married her. He's trying to be, how do they phrase it? He is trying to be a productive citizen, a productive member of the community. He's a businessman. He's producing opportunity for other people in the community. He's married black. He's having black children. He's a stand-up guy. That's a productive member of society, right? And what gets overlooked is the fact that he is preying on you. Preying on your dumbness, preying on you not to know better. He's preying on you, right? All of that will get fucking ignored. Y'all, when I tell you I'm hot, and I can't even hide it in this one. I can't hide it. Because to tell you that I seen this coming, to tell you that this is what it, I'm so disgusted. I'm so disgusted. Like I said, I'll probably never be a part of a church in a membership type of way. Not to say I'll never go. If someone invites me, like, I'll go. But it falling into that trance, you know what I mean? I ain't got it for you, baby. I ain't got it. Don't you pass no 3 or 4 plates around hell. You better not. You better have 1 donation plate coming on this motherfucker. And y'all better figure out and split that 3 away for the visiting pastor, the leaking roof, or the whatever fund. You better split it all up out of that 1 plate collection. What? Then y'all have nerves to be having they'll oh, I went to this one guy's church one time. One guy I was dating, he invited me to the church, and I'm just sitting there because I'll go for some good music. Love good music now. Come on, who don't love good music? I love good music. So he invited me to his church, and everything was cool. It was one of them little, storefront churches. They weren't big. They starting off. You gotta start from somewhere. You know what I mean? Bougie is not all that bougie. I understand. You gotta start from the bottom and bring your way on up to your super church, your mega churches and shit like that. So I get it. So I go to the church and I'm like, okay, so what's? I mean, it was like during the week, y'all. It was like a Thursday or a Friday, something. It was like during the week, right? So it wasn't like a normal service and stuff like that. And so I'm sitting there and I asked him, and I don't try to change people's beliefs and stuff like that. I'm going to just tell you why I stand on it, and it just is what it is, right? Like, I'm not in the business, and that even comes with my politics or my ideology, my conservative beliefs around a lot of social, things in terms of, like, how we show up in society. I ain't trying to change you. I don't have the Ayana Van Zant spirits, baby. Not in real life. I don't have it. Right? And I don't apologize for that. I just don't have it. Only because I know how people are so funny about being told what to do and all this other stuff. And ain't nobody labeling me as though I'm trying to be that person trying to correct or be somebody's mother. No, baby. I am guiding me. I am making sure that I don't behave a certain type of way. And that's that. But I will tell you that people still have a problem when you don't tell them. People are still uncomfortable because you're not partaking and you're not doing what they're doing. Crackheads don't sit around sober people. You get what I'm saying? They sit around people who do what they do. And that type of behavior, that's just in life, right? Those are who do wrong. Those are who are shifty people. They hang around other shifty people. Hoes hang out with hoes a lot of times. And they're very uncomfortable by that girl who does not behave and do the things that they do. Oh, she thinks she better. Never said that. I'm just not doing that for a drink. I'm just not out here fucking everything for $40. No, ma'am, no, sir. No, no, no. They won't tell you how Jackie will have a full-time job and a part-time job at the clubs. However, I need to hustle to make extra money. Jackie does that. They won't tell you Jackie will drive Uber. Jackie will be a waitress. Jackie has went to bartending school. They won't tell you any of those things, right? Just won't hustle my vagina. I am much more than that. There's so many other ways to get it. Yes. Yeah. So going back to hustlers hang out with hustlers, right? And so when you had Yvette Carnell calling out Boyce Watkins, who Boyce Watkins supported Jay Morrison, right? In terms of his scam, right? Because if you are a doctor in, finance, you should have been able to see through that bullshit. If Yvette Cornell and Tone was able to see that, and if they made their thoughts and opinions public, there's no reason why you shouldn't even there's no reason, because you had a past relationship with Yvette, that you did not hear the information that she was putting out, Boyce, and then go and reevaluate what she's saying. Now, you said that you like somebody with a different perspective. You keep saying that I like being surrounded by people who don't quite agree with me, How are you going to learn if you don't talk to the people that you're not in agreement with? So I had her on my platform, so, because I knew she could offer that, right? And if she could offer that, that means that you heard what she said about Jay Morrison. You heard what Tone said about Jay Morrison, and you chose consciously, not unconsciously, you chose to ignore it until the shit hit the fan. Y'all, I'm telling y'all, I'm about to show y'all why I'm so pissed. I'm about to show y'all. So I got up this morning, got on them people's X. Y'all, I got on them people's X, formerly known as Twitter. I got on them people's X, formerly known as Twitter. Y'all, I'm about to show y'all. That's Mr. Jay Morrison himself. And before we get to Jay Morrison himself, this person decided to share it with a brethren or a family man of my folks, because my folks is from West Virginia, and I don't know if I'll have to look and see, but I guess Booker T. Washington resided in West Virginia at some point in time. And West Virginian people, they're just very simple people. They're not dumb. They're just very simple people. Okay, and simple doesn't mean dumb, but they just are just plain folk. Right? They speak plainly, and there's nothing wrong with that. And that's why I think people get so That's why I think people make a lot of assumptions about me, because of, my family's humble beginnings, and just my family in general ain't a lot of whole bunch of college degrees and stuff. But majority of Black Americans families, if we're gonna keep it real, there's not like a whole bunch of college degrees. That's not to say there aren't some, but there's usually a lot of times there's not a whole bunch. We still have first college graduates and families are still happening, right? So I hate when people are out here acting real fucking brand new. Not everybody in that bloodline on both sides of everybody's family shit is still fucked up. Right? Like, if we're just gonna keep it real about what the Black American experience is, shit is still fucked up out here, right? All right. So with that being said, Tone shared this, and this is his. Well, let me get back to this point where I talk about like people sometimes make assumptions because I can't speak so plainly, and I'm probably not using a whole bunch of big words and stuff like that, even though I have them. Right? Don't get it fucking twisted. Okay? I have went to school. I have written papers and all this other stuff before there was a Chat GPT, right? And before there was really a motherfucking Google. Motherfuckers had to go to the library and pull out books, right? You had to cite your sources, right? Yeah. Did all of that. Went to college and did all of that. Might have failed biology in ninth grade. Yes, I did. But I most definitely passed those anatomy classes in college, right? Motherfuckers is crazy out here when they think they can tell you. But anywho, so I think people make a lot of assumptions because I don't walk around, as much as I am bougie in some type of ways, I don't walk around kind of beating my chest. I think a real lion or an alpha personality, because I have been told I'm an alpha personality, and I don't even know how, because I'm actually really more quiet than people may think. And that's not to say that I don't have that's not to say that I'm different on a mic or whatever, but I will say in certain spaces, and it depends, I may rather take a more observational and hold back type of spaces. And people do things like that just for defense, you know what I mean? Filling the room, getting to know the environment they're in, right? So, I was around some real hood ass, ghetto ass people, and a lot of times people were saying, well, I ain't see all that personality. She didn't show you all that because I was too busy watching you niggas. What the fuck? Do I need to say it any different than that? You bad-minded people. What the fuck you mean? I ain't showing you nothing. What? Huh? I'm just trying to be honest with y'all. Like, what is you talking about? I'm too busy looking at how grimy y'all are to one another. What you mean? I gotta show up in my authentic self. What are you talking about? I'm supposed to be square because y'all see these glasses and y'all see what one nigga told me one time. You just seem so different because the glasses and you look sort of like a teacher and da 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 da. No, I'm a real ass nigga. And if you take time to let you get next to me and you get to talking to me, then you'll realize that she's ain't shit slow. Huh? I'm around a group of people who are lying on each other, stealing from each other, doing all types of crazy, sleeping with each other. Everybody sleeping with each other's mans and doing stealing and all types of shit. And you think I'm supposed to authentically show up as what? Y'all motherfuckers need to go play with somebody else. Y'all out here having all these motherfucking kids for you to play with, and I suggest you continue to play with them because I am not that. Whew, y'all. I'm telling y'all, this shit pissed me off. Y'all about to see it. This ain't gonna be too long, and it sure as hell ain't gonna be nowhere near an hour, so let me get to it. All right, so Tone decided to share this post, and in this post, it's a post, as you see below here in this little video, that is Jay Morrison. And so he just started to share this quote or passage, a passage of a book from Booker T. Washington, Up From Slavery. And I thought it was so fitting. I thought it really spoke to exactly what I was outlining and saying in my video, the long one. Here we go. It says the ministry was the profession that suffered the most and still suffers, though there has been great improvement on account of not only ignorant but in many cases immoral men who claimed that they were called to preach. Okay. In the early days of freedom, almost every colored man who learned to read would receive a call to preach. But then a few days after he began reading, At my home in West Virginia, the process of being called to the ministry was a very interesting one. Booker T. Washington sounds like a lot like me. Like, this is very peculiar behavior. And y'all, when I'm quiet and I don't want to participate with what's going on around me, I'm probably in my head like, this is some strange ass motherfucking behavior. When I tell you, Booker T, I hear you, dog. Like, when you just sit back and just socially just watch the dynamics within our community, you're just like, oh, this is some shit. This is some bullshit, but I'm gonna watch it, though. Y'all, that is so me. Like, I ain't gonna participate. That's how I'm on Clubhouse. That's why I be in the goo when they be up there arguing and shit and going back and forth about fucking nothing. I be like, this is peculiar behavior. So you let this stranger ask you about your personal life. I don't give a fuck what you look up or what you think you had. I don't care how many ops or how many haters you talk to of mine. I know you is a stranger and you ain't asking me a motherfucking thing. And if they said something and they got a problem, they should address it when they was around me. Space, time, and opportunity. But I know you as a stranger ain't asking me a motherfucking thing. I promise y'all, I'm like this in real life. I promise you. Who's you? All right, let me get back to the story. Okay, let me start. I'll just start a little bit up. Okay. The ministry was the profession that suffered the most and still suffers, though there has been great improvement on account of not only ignorant but in many cases immoral men who claimed that they were called to preach. Not the call. In the earlier days of freedom, almost every colored man who learned to read would receive a call to preach within a few days after he began reading. I'm sorry, y'all. That is so funny to me because he really observed this. So you done learned to read, and now all of a sudden you done got the call. My nigga Booker T, my nigga Booker T. That's a great observation right there for your ass. If there ain't never been one, that is a great one. All right, it says, in the earlier days of freedom, almost every colored man who learned to read would receive a call to preach within a few days after he began reading. At my home in West Virginia, the process of being called to the ministry was a very interesting one. I wish he would have said peculiar. A very peculiar one. Usually the call came when the individual was sitting in the church. Without warning, the one called would fall upon the floor as if struck by a bullet and would lie there for hours. Speechless and motionless. Then the news would spread all through the neighborhood that this individual had received a call. If he were inclined to resist the summons, he would fall or made to fall a second or third time. In the end, he always yielded to the call. While I wanted an education badly, I confess that in my youth, I had a fear that when I had learned to read and write, well, I would receive one of these calls. But for some reason, my call never came. Y'all, I have a cousin, and me and him used to joke years ago. I said, yo, cuz, we gotta get us a church. Because he, me and him see things like similar in terms of like these pastors and shit like this and what we see in the church. We gotta get a church, get our, get our life semi-right and get right with the church. Like, cause it just seems like a hustle. That's why I said there's no way. Like, I'll show up, I'll participate. I'm gonna look around because I'm also someone who's looking to try to see who the pastor is sleeping with. You know what I mean? Who's coming to church with the titties all out and all types of shit, and first one to greet the pastor. And he's saying amen, and you gotta you got a booty clapper in the audience. Amen, pastor. Oh man! Anytime he called for a shout out, she the first one shouting him out. She had all of the events, you know what I mean? Even the ones the first lady can't make. She is doing the fucking most. So I be trying to figure out who that be when I be at church sometimes. Who coming up and touching him on his shoulder, looking in his eyes? Yeah, so for me, like, I'm having fun. Let me be completely honest with you. I am having fun because the dynamics of what the church and what we going down in there is a whole fact. It just be a whole fact. It just be a whole fact. All right, so you have this post. You have Tone Antonio sharing that. And the reason why he shared that, you have down here, there's a video of Jay Morrison. And they tagged Antonio, Tone Talks, and Yvette Carnell in this post. Let me go ahead and play this shit for y'all.
Word of God and fellowship. I will be preaching for the first time from the pulpit ever in my life. So I'm looking forward to what God's going to do with me in Raleigh. And then Monday, Faith and Finance, Raleigh, North Carolina. Monday night, Word of God and fellowship as well with Pastor Mitch. Pardon that word party in the background. You know, Kobe got to do her thing. But yeah, I'll see y'all tomorrow, Raleigh. I'm just resting and studying and just letting God lead my steps. Y'all can stream it online on YouTube or pull up to Raleigh if you're in that area. So
Resting and studying and letting God lead his steps, y'all. That's where he's at right now. Because when he took all of your money, that $12 million in that fund and stuff like that, you know what I'm saying? I guess God wasn't leading his steps then, right? But now all of a sudden, since, they filed for bankruptcy and folks can't get their money back, God is now leading his steps, y'all. And so, again, that long ass video I did, there's a reason for that, right? I needed to show you guys like what has been happening, right? I needed to show you how we continue to let these men, and I know it has to do with patriarchy. That's where I am going to call that out. And we continue to try to see something special in people that it's just not there, right? Right? We continue to make excuses for people and just don't want to call it out, right? And when it comes to me and the people I choose to call out, and even though I say I'm a feminist, and I know some people try to box me into trying to make it about hating men and all this other stuff, and it's sort of like how I talk about a Sukiyana the same way I talk about a Janelle Monáe. Sukiyana's just disgusting with hers, but I most definitely seen through what Janelle Monáe was talking about and called that out and had a problem with it, right? So there's no one type of person or one type of people that I'll go after, right? It's not an attack on, hood bitches, you know what I mean? Bitches from the street or anything like that, right? I speak about Lizzo's fat ass. I sure do. Yes, I sure do. That sympathy card, that using your weight for attention, doing things to cause attention to, for your weight, and then playing victim. Yes, most definitely. I most definitely talk about that. Because it's annoying as fuck, right? So I'm not quite sure who is these people that I won't call out and what that looks like, right? I'll call out a Kamala Harris if I don't agree with what she said. So when y'all finish trying to label me and put me in a box, let me know what it is. Same way I call out these deadbeat ass rappers. I will call out a Jay Morrison who's supposed to be, I don't know what the fuck he's supposed to be completely honest with you, other than a con man criminal. So there's nobody who's untouchable when it comes to me. If Barack Obama said something I didn't agree with, I would call him out. Y'all too busy having biases and talking about I'm a boy's mom. I don't even know what the fuck that means when we talking about grown ass men in society. Like, what is the emphasis about that? I'm trying to really understand what is the emphasis about when people are talking about grown ass men. Do some of you women try to bring up the fact that you are a mother of a son? What does that mean? That you're like Mama D, really kind of married to your son, going to be overly invested in his business, going to be that type of mother that make excuses for his behavior? I'm not quite sure what you're trying to say to the world. I'm I'm really concerned about why people don't why are people not talking about they are mothers of daughters? Why is there so much emphasis to talk about being mothers of sons? The sons that you're not teaching? Is that why? You're not really guiding? I'm just really all the way confused about that. Celebrate your kids, but celebrate them equally, right? Oh, gosh, y'all. All right, so this person wrote, breaking brown in tone talk. So my man at Mr. J. Morrison is preaching now. Well, like my dad used to say, pray for some money. The grift evolves. Laughing my ass off. Y'all Christians, be safe though. I wonder will the collection plates have the Treff logo. That is crazy. Am I surprised? No. That's why I showed you Daddy Rich. That's why I showed you that. Y'all need to see it in real time. Y'all need to be able to put this shit together. I am really not sure why I didn't have to read Booker T. Washington for something that I see as clear as day. I love that passage though. That passage is really dope. I'm just really concerned on why we as a people can't see it. Why do we continue to have all these stories and y'all don't try to put none of this shit together? And I do, and I know what the church community feels as though, oh, people unfairly judge the, the good churches, have to pay the cost for what, these people, and, there's some good people out there, and that goes without saying. There's most definitely some good people out there that can't take away from that. There's absolutely some good churches out there, can't take away from that. There's some good pastors. There's some good people in churches doing great things in the community. Like, I just don't want that to be lost. But what I will say, though, is I don't like how quiet you guys are when your fellow Christians, right, are out here dimming the light on the church community, dimming the light on God's word, making a mockery of it, and y'all stand by and you continue to let these individuals do it. So whereas you want to say that there's good people, maybe you guys should be more active in calling out the bad people, so that way we can see as if though it ain't an all in, we all hustling, right? I mean, DeAndrea Johnson, and if I can find the video, I think I did say that she got drunk and told y'all see they all, the first thing they do is get churches, talking about the gospel singers. I mean, the whinings and them, they didn't got a church. We done seen them all get churches, y'all. They all get churches. Right? They all get churches. Right? And so DeAndrea will get drunk and she'll let it all out. Ain't no call out. Ain't no call out. Y'all stand around because, again, when you're hustling together and getting money together, I cannot sit up here and throw stones at the motherfucker who's hustling or doing the same type of, thing I'm doing, right? I look crazy. That's how it's coming across when y'all decide to stay quiet about these individuals within your community. That it's dimming the light on God and His word and His messaging. And what y'all are supposed to stand for. Yeah, they're dimming that light. They most definitely are. Because you could still have a relationship with God without ever having to go to these churches. Y'all, I'm so pissed. All right, I'm going to show y'all one more video. We are going back here. So in this video, in the last video I showed, it was a lot about Yvette Cornell calling out Boyce Watkins, and then Boyce Watkins doing his nice, nasty thing, alluding to the fact that he has receipts on Yvette and, how he's paid her all this money. He'll slyly say things like, Yvette struggles with money and always has, right? And this is what people do when they're like, they're being that shady. Like, you know what I mean? Like, Real Housewives of, Atlanta type shady. Like, where they're talking shit, but, it's not that aggressive, like out in your face talking shit. Boyce does this shit all day long and then talk about other people and their maturity. Y'all are seeing you'll see in the first video I did where he talks about, the behavior of certain YouTubers and how immature these people are at 45 and 50 years old, and he just refuses to show up like that. You may refuse to not show up as aggressively and as direct, right? But I really rather an aggressive, direct person than a motherfucker who rather slyly be shady and throw shots, right? I don't respect that at all. All right, y'all, but I'm gonna let y'all listen to a little bit of this, a little bit of this. Hold on one second.
Of views and money to her own platform.
Oh, and before I start to play this, you can find this video at O'Shea Duke Jackson. It's called "These Shady Receipts Against Boyce Watkins Are Career Ending." And again, I want to emphasize why I'm showing you this. I want to show you how when people are getting money together, and even if it's against the community, even if it's against preying on the community, they're willing to do that, right? Because they know the power that they hold, and especially with a group of people that may not be as well educated as them, right? And they will play on top of that. And that's my whole point. Like, these people will just be preying on individuals. So here we go.
From www.breakingbrown.com. And again, she brought a lot of views and money to Dr. Boyce Watkins, weighing in on black issues. Boyce Watkins' platform, Your Black World. And she also has her own platform almost a decade ago. Yvette Carnell was a very talented presenter for Dr. Boyce Watkins' platform, Your Black World. And she also has her own platform, www.breakingbrown.com. And again, she brought a lot of views and money to Dr. Boyce Watkins, weighing in on black issues in the black community. But Yvette Carnell has some history that a lot of people in the black community don't like. She issued out some harsh criticisms about Dr. Frances Cress Welsing that wasn't appreciated. But then she also had something to say about Minister Louis Farrakhan. Now, if you guys don't know, Dr. Boyce Watkins always praises Minister Louis Farrakhan. He even looks at him as a grandfather. They both live in Chicago. And Yvette Carnell, who really made a lot of controversy back in August 2015 when she dropped this pretty much very controversial video about Minister Louis Farrakhan.
Black World family, Breaking Brown family, and I just want to say that one of the people that I rarely, if ever, criticize is Minister Louis Farrakhan. And there is a reason for that. I rarely criticize Farrakhan because he has so many adherents who are so, so militantly in his corner that is really, as far as I'm concerned, mostly a losing battle, because of no matter what you say, a Nation of Islam, loving person who loves Farrakhan isn't really going to change their minds. But I saw something that came across my Facebook feed earlier today.
Also known as they will ignore anything that comes out, anything that looks like facts. They are in the trance. You can't talk about him. They have put this man on a pedestal, and from what I remember in the Bible, you put no man on a pedestal when it comes to God. No man gets put on a pedestal. But she's most definitely talking about how militant and how they will, follow you. They will harass you. They will, try to bully you for speaking on another man. And the last time I checked, that man is still just a man like me and you, right? So nobody is, for me, be completely off. I don't have to be disrespectful. Y'all know I did a previous video and I got my shit off because I was still trying to figure out how Farrakhan is a fan of R. Kelly. So what were you listening to? 12 Play? Booty. I'm just trying to figure out what was the minister listening to. R. Kelly didn't put out no gospel album, right? So what we be fans of these people? You right in them people's Chicago. You didn't know he was down there at them people's McDonald's picking up the kids and down at the schools. You didn't go and holler at the boy. You didn't send nobody with the rainbows around the corner to see why R. Kelly was out here doing what he was doing. You ain't have no conversations with him about nothing you had heard over the years, or you gonna try to act like you ain't heard nothing but the music? Okay.
Early last night, as a matter of fact, and I had to say something. I mean, I hear Farrakhan has this justice or else thing going on. I guess it is a marketing ploy to sort of sell, Million Man March Part 2. And let me just say something, black people. You know, I understand that one of the only things that this country, that the Western dominating forces respect is wealth and violence. That's what we are. Those are the two valuable products, wealth and violence. I get that. But let me just say, when you start telling black people justice or else, you're really putting black people in a lot of danger. When you think about the National Guard, the military, the militia, these oath keepers, everyone else, you think about, what are we, 13-14% of the population? What I am saying is that this thing Farrakhan is doing, in the sense of, we need 10,000 men who would rather be dead than to continue to see their babies in the streets, or whatever. I'm telling you, this is some of the most potentially damaging, race war encouraging stuff I've seen in a while. And what I'm saying is that, if you start a race war, first of all, black people, we gonna lose. There is no way around that. This is, and let's be honest, even with what's happening, black people in America are probably better off than black people in a lot of other countries. So what I'm saying is, I'm not saying don't find a way to fight back. I'm saying, if Farrakhan wants to do this stuff, if Farrakhan wants to start this race war and talk about how death is preferable, to living the way we're living and all that stuff, well, he should be the first one to bust a grape in the food fight. I mean, you have the Nation of Islam behind you, which is thousands of black people, thousands of black men, and you're talking about what we should be doing. You're living out in Hyde Park. Didn't he live like around the corner from Barack Obama? And you're talking about what black people should be doing and what you expect, and 10,000 soldiers. Farrakhan, you've been around how long? You haven't done anything. You haven't done anything to kind of challenge white supremacy, and that's why you're allowed to breathe in this country. If you listen, there's a reason why every black radical who has fought.
Before she goes too long, I agree with her in terms of what has to be done in this country to change the conditions for black Americans. I don't think it will be a race war, right? I think if you pay attention to me enough, I'm always. There's a reason why I pay attention to that Hollywood strike and all that other stuff, and or paying attention to. I don't think it's going to be race that's going to cause this country to have another change, right? I don't think it will be grounded in race. I think it will be grounded in class. I think it would be grounded in just Americans feeling like their government is no longer serving them, right? And that's above race. Nothing to do with race. That's white people, that's black people, that's everybody in between. And I think if we can have that common, have that coming together as people and realizing that, I think that's when the next revolution will most definitely happen. I don't think it will be race. I just truly don't. When you talk about poor people and conditions and stuff like that, baby, the white poor is a different type of poor too, baby. It's a different type of poor. Go to them Appalachian states. See how they're living in certain parts of Kentucky. See how they're living in West Virginia. See how they're just living, right? So different type of poor when you're not in the inner cities where there are when you're in inner cities. So kind of there probably are a few more social programs, but we're, like she said, we're only 13-14%. So white poor is massive. There's massive numbers for that to speak against that. So again, for me, I'm always going to be pushing issues like we see in Hollywood, and you see that these working people are getting screwed by the system in place right now, which is capitalism, right? While you have these senators, these representatives who are probably inside trading, making millions and millions of dollars. And really living large living large. That's what I'll say. Living large and not doing anything to try to help people, survive better. Because at the end of the day, talking about socialism and more of what the government probably will have to provide. Yeah, we're moving towards that, right? As AI gets better, there's going to be a whole bunch of jobs a lot of people don't qualify or can't get anymore, right? We have areas in this country in terms of what you see in Ohio, what you see in certain areas in Pennsylvania, of course, West Virginia, that there's no economy in certain areas. There's no steel mills, right? There's no factories to support the people who are living around there so they can make money, right? Everybody's not going to college, right? These companies that employ people who go to colleges, they're not in rural America, right? So what exactly puts people to work in those areas, right? It has always been manufacturing. But our country has been so gutted out for companies getting tax breaks to go overseas. You don't have that anymore. From the glass companies, steel, all of that. In Massachusetts, we used to have factories all in our South Boston area and stuff like that. Anything that that needed to be assembled, we were doing that here in America, and it supported whole communities. So whole communities have been wiped out. You talk about Detroit, and you talk about the auto and wiped out. Yes, they have some very little still left in the United States, but that's why Detroit looks the way it looks. They took away something that was supporting the community in terms of having an economy. So race war, no, but class war, yes, most definitely. I do see that coming.
Who has authentically fought for black freedom in this country has been ousted. He is gone. He is no more. We have where's Assata Shakur right now? She's in Cuba in hiding. Where is Fred Hampton? Where are all the Black Panthers? If you are a serious threat to white supremacy in this country, you are not allowed to breathe freely. You are not allowed to live lavishly in Chicago, on the dollars of your Nation of Islam members.
This got so bad that Minister Farrakhan and the Nation of Islam really was checking Boyce, because this actually happened on Boyce Watkins' platform. So what people were saying is, listen, bruh, how are you going to let this lady come after the minister on your platform? You've been to the minister's house. You broke bread with him. How can you do this? And it got so bad that even the Nation of Islam had some of its people that came there to challenge what she said in that first clip.
I did. I watched both her videos. And there were some things that were concerning in the way that she framed Justice or Else, as well as the way that she framed Minister Farrakhan. First and foremost, she framed it as Minister Farrakhan inciting a race war. And I'm sorry to inform her and all the viewers, but we've been in a war for 450 years. Minister Farrakhan didn't create racial tensions. Minister Farrakhan didn't cause white people to hate us. Minister Farrakhan didn't cause white people to bring us here in the hulls of ships. Minister Farrakhan didn't cause white folks to bomb Tulsa, Oklahoma. Minister Farrakhan didn't cause white folks to kill us every 28 hours. And Minister Farrakhan didn't cause the current tension, which has black people dying every 8 hours. So how can you frame this as him inciting a race war? The fact of the matter is, people have been at war with us, but we just haven't been fighting back. Minister Farrakhan is simply saying that now is the time that we need to take a moment and stand up and retaliate and resist. How long can the people continue to be oppressed without doing anything or saying anything? At a certain point in time, it's enough is enough. So in the video, she said that, black people have it bad. There's people in other parts of the world that have it worse. I'm sorry, I reject that notion.
Okay, and this is where I got to step in, because he's making so many points in terms of talking about, being brought over as slaves, in terms of all the atrocities and things that have happened to Black Americans, right? But I think what I honestly feel in terms of Yvette Cornell's message is, that's all good and dandy what you're talking about, what our history is, and that we do need to stand up and fight back. But it's very much like, sounds like signaling to incite people to take or do things to fight the government back. And that's fine, but what are you doing in terms of organizing something that could, get you results like a MLK, right? Why do you retreat or, come out and seem selective about what you will talk about, right? Even if we're talking about like the Black community and the debauchery within the Black community and the things that are going on, right? You don't hear him come out you don't hear him come out and publicly say to men like, I'm trying to think. You don't hear him come out and say something publicly to men like Bootsy. Bro, man, Why you got these young men out here going to jail for you, and not leading them the right way, and always on the wrong side of, telling black men not to snitch, and not really calling out the behavior of these black men that put themselves in these peculiar situations. You don't have Farrakhan coming out and doing those type of things, right? You don't have Farrakhan, publicly coming out and saying in his own city, and saying to members of O Block and, all these men that are in these wars, gang banging wars, and say, hey, what y'all doing, brother? I don't care that music is crap. Publicly, you don't have him doing this. Now, that's not to say there may not be, and it seems like there may be some personal, relationships, and palms being greased and stuff like that. And I said that to y'all when I felt like, in terms of I said this in the previous video, in terms of his relationship with R. Kelly. So you mean probably that nigga probably came through to the house or something, probably dropped a little donation, and so we gonna ignore the fact that women out here having to survive his ass? Is that what we doing? Huh? So we'll see him come out and defend a Kyrie Irving. You'll see him come out and defend a Kanye West, and probably people who donate and all this other stuff, right? Because they're speaking, of course, Kanye, I guess that's the part of speaking, truth to power in some type of way. But he won't condemn when it's harmful. These black men are causing harm, right? And so for me, it sort of looked like an all boys club, right? You'll come out and talk about Beyonce and Rihanna and their clothing and how they dress, but you are a fan of R. Kelly. Do you know what some of his shows he had a bed and cages on there, and it was emulating sex and all types of shit, and you had a nerve to talk about Queen Beyonce? Let me get back so I don't say nothing disrespectful. Because at that point, that's when I realized, because I was really thinking about, like, that's where I wanted to be in terms, because if you listen to me enough, I will tell you, you should hear it all throughout in me. Like, who you think taught me? Why do you think I'm so powerful? Why do you think I'm so strong in what I believe? It's most definitely Minister Louis Farrakhan. But that right there, oh baby, I had to open my eyes, y'all. I had to fall out of the trance. Okay, because I promise you, it was the Beyonce for me. Oh, you had time for that. Every fucking thing in this world, and you had time to address Beyonce? I just started to look a little different. It started to feel a little different. All these black men that when they get in trouble with white society or white, mainstream, you come out and support them, right? That's when you come out and speak. But you'll sit back, and I mean boldly call out these names in the same way I'm saying to the Christian church community to be bold about calling out the criminals within y'all community. Ain't nobody getting no pass in this shit. For me, they're not. Whew. But in terms of Farrakhan telling people they need to do more, don't just wind people up without giving them a sense of direction. That's what I think. The reason why I stopped this video to say something, right? Don't just say shit and have people confused and angry and just wanting to just randomly do things without giving them some type of sense of direction, because you and I, the ones who are able to see things for what it is and know you are the head, because you are leading a lot of brothers who needed structure, who a lot of times found this religion through jail, right? Sort of like a father figure, right? So don't wind these black people up, and if you're not going to lead them, and not do it in such a lazy way. Just saying shit.
That's like saying just because I'm a house slave, we don't need to end slavery because the field slaves got it worse. It's not sufficient for us to say that black people in other parts of the world have it worse when black people all over the world are catching hell. And we do know that black people in America are in the belly of the beast.
So Boyce Watkins also tried to clean it up. He went and met with the minister, Louis Farrakhan, to try to smooth it over and apologize for what happened. And that's when Dr. Boyce Watkins put out this particular clip.
Anyway, long story short, I want to hop into a little bit of what me and the minister talked about. I should address the elephant in the middle of the room right away, and we did. I mean, the minute I saw him, I walked up to him. I was at his house probably about, I think we were there. I think I got there about 6 and left like 10:30. So I was there 4.5 hours, and I knew it would be a long visit. And so I went up to him when I first got there. And I was happy to see him. I didn't pretend like I was happy. I was very happy because I have so much respect for him. I gave him a big hug. He gave me a hug and even kissed me on the cheek. Just so you know, I don't really kiss dudes on the cheek. Not that there's anything wrong with that. That's just not me. But I appreciated that affection, that show of affection. And he,
like a daddy.
He was just very warm. I mean, he just came up and we hit. I mean, it wasn't like we beat around the bush and eventually got around to the whole Yvette Carnell thing. He went right to it. And he just kind of said, we had the controversy this week, and but I'm so glad that you're here. And then we talked about that. And here's what he said. And I'm paraphrasing a little bit in terms of what the minister said. I hope I don't say it wrong, but basically the bottom line was he did not say one negative word about Yvette Carnell, not one. And in fact, he actually said that he encourages her to use her voice. He says that she was speaking passionately and from the heart. He respects that. He also said that it's important to express disagreement because that forces you to defend your argument.
It seems that he really loves Minister Louis Farrakhan. He's very appreciative of the advice Louis Farrakhan has, the things he's done in the black community. And so Boyce Watkins was trying to clean this up. But at the same time, publicly, that he's trying to clean this up, Boyce Watkins is actually acting in a very duplicitous nature. Rewind, Nemo! You see, Boyce Watkins is a hypocrite. And this is what Yvette Carnell is trying to prove. You see, Yvette Carnell understood that bringing this information up about Jay Morrison would cause Dr. Boyce Watkins to want to get back into a turf war. I talked about that yesterday. But see, Dr. Boyce Watkins failed to realize that he sent some receipts in 2015 during this whole fiasco that proves that he actually was being duplicitous. While on camera, he's trying to apologize and make things right with Minister Louis Farrakhan, he's not telling that to Yvette Carnell. According to her Instagram post at August 5th, 2015, because remember, she made this video August 4th, 2015, Dr. Boyce Watkins is saying, "Sad music, your Farrakhan video, LOL, damn, I saw that title and I was like, oh, ish, you had me."